93.5 WRLY. He's no stranger. And again, welcome to Candid Conversations. I know that you all are used to seeing Lady T and JT, but we are with you all today, and I'm so very happy. I love the Oak 93.5 family. And I love Candid Conversation. So it is a delight to just fill in today and to be your guest host. At this time, I'm going to just yield to our very own Jason and allow him to just tell you a little bit about himself. He is Mr. Motivator himself. And I just want him to share just a little bit about who he is and what he does.
Gotcha. Well, I was actually laughing. Thank you so much, Tameka. I was laughing when we said that Lady T and JT are going to be absent. But what the interesting thing is that your name begins with T, just like Lady T. So we still got a T in the house, and my family and friends actually call me JT as well. So I just think it's interesting that even though they're not here with us today, but their names and all of that are still here. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. So super excited to be here this evening. Thank you so much for having me on. As Tameka said, I'm Jason T. Mahoney, better known as the Motivator. I'm hail here from Raleigh, North Carolina, but originally from Merck City, which is Sumter, South Carolina. So if anyone is on listening to Sumter, just give us a little Sumter, South Carolina, to let us know that we're in the house. But a little bit about me. I'm an author. I'm the author of 5 books. One of my books was a bestseller, which was Letters to Our Brothers, and it focused on encouraging and uplifting African-American men to get to our next level, where we brought 44 Black men together from all walks of life, socioeconomic statuses, etc., just to encourage other Black men. And the other book are poetry books, and the other one is a book that's focusing on therapy and helping individuals get to their next level. So that's the authorship of me. I'm also a coach and consultant, where I help individuals get to their next level. If you have a business, we're going to help you make your business get to that next level through grant writing, contracts, et cetera, whatever's going to make you successful. And next, you have me as a lecturer and motivational speaker. You can see me on college campuses, having the opportunity to speak to future generations of social workers, counselors, business individuals to get them to that next level in their academics. Last but kind of like fun, I'm a poet. I love words, and I love to be able to use words to help individuals just feel good about themselves. And so my whole platform and everything I do is always about helping individuals get to their next level, regardless of where they are in life. So that's me.
Outstanding, doing great things. And we just need more Jason T. Mahoney, who knows how to motivate, who knows how to inspire, and who knows how to push others along their journey. I think it's wonderful. Again, those of you who are just joining in for Candid Conversations, I know that you're not seeing who you're normally seeing on your Tuesday evenings at 5, but we are so glad to be here as your guest host on today. Welcome to Oak 93.5 WRLY. I'm excited about today's show. We're going to talk a little bit about the holidays, and how we can manage holiday stressors. And we want to talk a little bit about just the holiday blues. That is something that some go through. It's a time where people, I love Christmas, but I know that it's not everybody's favorite time of the year. Some people dread when the holidays come around for various reasons. It could be the passing of a loved one. It could be financial. It could be that they don't celebrate it. A number of reasons, but some people get what's called the holiday blues. We're going to talk a little bit about that and how we can overcome those blues. Also, we know I've gone through the reality of losing loved ones and having that first when that loved one isn't there. We call that the empty chair. That person who would normally be sitting in that chair at the time is no longer there. That's not something that's easy to go through. So that's what today's show is all about. I'm excited. I know that you probably have some traditions that you do during Christmas time, or that you do during the holiday season. We just got through Thanksgiving. What a great time we had to give thanks unto the Lord. Talk about that in the comments. Say hello to us. Go ahead and tell us who you are, where you're from. Talk about some of those traditions that you have as the holiday season approaches. Jason, I know you probably have some family traditions or even things that you do in and of yourself during the month of Christmas. What are some of your traditions that you can talk to us about?
So I often wish there's a song that says, if I can turn back the hands of time. You know, as kids, we were so ready to grow up and be adults. And now as an adult, I'm like, oh, if I could just slow down and turn back the hands of time to going back to Christmas of my childhood. There were so many traditions that were created during those times. And one that always sounds for me is Christmas Eve. And so Christmas Eve at my house would be, we would sit around, we would watch Christmas movies. And I had an aunt that would come over every single Christmas Eve. And we would do Christmas with her on Christmas Eve, because on Christmas Day, she would spend time with her husband's family. And so pretty much what would happen is she would come over and we would eat, and then we would exchange gifts and just have a good time. And that was my favorite aunt, by the way. But being able to really celebrate that every year. And then on Christmas Day, of course, we would get up and we would open presents, and we would just leave the wrappings all on the floor while we're opening up the presents and just really having a good time. And then we'll get ready to head out for the day. And we would go literally from house to house to house to house to house again, visiting family on Christmas Day and exchanging Christmas presents. And then by the time we get back at home, we'll be relaxed. And then family would then come over to my parents' house, and then we would play games together as a family and win prizes. And that was my Christmas all of my childhood life. Now it's a little bit different. And it's a little bit different. And it's that empty chair syndrome as well, because now in my adulthood, Christmas it just doesn't look like that anymore. Now, pretty much what it looks like is that favorite aunt who would always come by on Christmas Eve, she's no longer with us. A lot of the family members that we would go visit from house to house, they're no longer with us as well. And so what happens is we now get into that idea of Christmas just ain't Christmas without the ones we love the most. And that's a famous Christmas song. And so with that being said, it's the reality of what do we do when these moments come with the empty chair, when Christmas just is not Christmas like it once was. Just going to take a pause right there and think about that. We all had those childhood moments when we were just enjoying Christmas. And the reality sets in that the moms are no longer with us, those grandmothers, those aunts and those uncles are no longer with us. And we got to live in this reality. So one thing that I do for myself is to get over the holiday blues is I just sit and reflect on the memories. I would actually just listen to some music to put myself in the mood and be grateful of the experience and the opportunity. And that gratefulness then bring forth joy that I have the opportunity to experience that. So that's what I would encourage people to do, is that if you find yourself in that holiday blues, take a moment and reflect. Because guess what? The joy that you had in those years with those loved ones, someone did not have that opportunity. So they never even had the opportunity to sit and savor in those moments. So be grateful that you have those memories and those moments to live by. And that's where your smile comes from. That's where your inner joy comes from, is just reflecting on those moments to the idea that, wow, I had that opportunity that nobody else had. So for me, Tameka, what I do is I just reflect on those moments, and I take it all in. I take it all in, the smell of my grandmother's house when we would go visit her, the smile of when my aunt would come over and bring her gifts and her presents, and going from house to house and piling up in a car and being angry at my mom and dad, like, why can't we stay at home and play with our games, right? Because I'm mad. And so I take all of that in and hold on to that childhood moment. And so that's what I encourage people to do, is hold on and reflect on the memories and the moments. And that's where you find that joy. You find that joy because guess what? You had the opportunity. Someone said to me a long time ago, do not be sad that it's over. Be glad that it happened. And that's the mantra that I live by when that holiday blues come in. I'm not going to be sad that it's over. I'm going to be glad that I had that experience. So that's how I deal with the holiday blues.
I love it. And I love how you talked about just the traditions and the memories from Christmas. And when you talked about that, it made me reflect on some of the
Mhm.
traditions that we have and that we had even growing up as a little girl. I remember getting up at midnight, and we were always taught, of course, the meaning of Christmas, right?
Mhm.
Thankfully, we were able to get blessed with gifts and things of that nature. We would talk about the meaning of Christmas, but I just remember just the traditions of at midnight, being able to eat cookies, being
Mhm.
able to play silent night. I just growing up hearing that in the house, silent
Mhm.
night, holy night, just the Christmas carols, beginning to play Christmas in the month of Christmas, going out, being able to first serve others and then
Mhm.
be able to get, your family members, your friends gifts, your teachers, all of that good stuff. So those are certainly great traditions. And as you mentioned, as we think about those traditions, oftentimes people who were part of those great memories, they may no longer be with us. That's the reality of it. And I think about my dear aunt Frankie. Her name was Frankie Jean, and she's my mother, one of my mother's sisters. And I recall when she passed away years ago, she passed away on Thanksgiving Day. Now we know that it falls on a different calendar day in November, but I remember thinking we were going down the road from Raleigh to my hometown, and I remember thinking, why Thanksgiving Day? We'll never forget it. We'll never have another good Thanksgiving, because she was the life of the party. She was everybody's auntie, everybody's BFF. She was that best friend that you wanted and that auntie that you wanted in your life. And just thinking about the traditions with her coming down. She lived in New York, when she would come down for the holidays and have everybody laughing. And so I thought that Thanksgiving would never be the same again. I remember when we got to my mom's house that day she passed away, my mom said, we're hurt, but we got to think about how we can be thankful in this moment. Yes, it's Thanksgiving Day. Yes, it's a time that we wanted to maybe have fun, laugh, do all those things, but let's be thankful that she was saved. Let's be thankful that God took her out of that pain and suffering and dealing with end stage cancer and all of that. So Thanksgivings have still been a joyous occasion. Instead of being sad about it, we can think of the great times that we spent with her during that time. And it is not a blue moment. So thank you for sharing those traditions. And those of you who have joined in, thank you for joining us today for Candid Conversations right here on Oak 93.5. We're here today as your guest host. Lady T and JT are not with us today. They're going to be back. So we're delighted to be here as the guest host today. Again, welcome to those who have just joined in. Go ahead and share with someone, and go ahead and put in the comments some of your traditions during the holiday season. So Jason, you talked about the holiday blues, and I love how you even touched on ways that we can combat that. Let's look at what the holiday blues are. And not only is it the holiday blues, but even during this season where it gets dark a little bit early, did you know that people have what's called seasonal depression, and some
Mhm.
get into a little funk during this time of year when we don't have as much sunlight, when things kind of shut down a little earlier. So that's also something that people are faced with during this time. The holiday blues is not necessarily a long-term depression or a long-term sadness, but it is a seasonal type situation. It is defined as a temporary feeling of sadness, anxiety, or depression that occurs during this season. Now, again, some people have it for different reasons. Some people
Mhm.
become sad or depressed because of what we just talked
Right.
about, that empty chair, or because they just don't like this time of year. We want to talk about today how we can combat that, how we can turn that around and not make this a sad time, but let it be a joyous time. And even in the comments, you can put ways that you make sure it's a joyous time. It could be a situation where you're like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do everything I need to do at Christmas or during this time of year. How can we turn that around? I'll be first to say that during the time, like we talked a little bit about the traditions and how it may not be the same. Well, coming up with a new tradition, something different that is
Mhm.
fun during this time, maybe going to see a light show or driving through neighborhoods, looking at the Christmas lights, or maybe feeding the homeless or volunteering at a shelter during this time and giving back to others. What would you say, Jason, are some other things that someone could do to combat that sadness that sometimes comes upon people?
So one thing that I will definitely say, and we think about it, the traditions that we were doing as children, those were traditions that our parents created for us, right? Because we grew up and those are things that they said, okay, those going to be our traditions. Those are going to be things that we're going to do. So this is what I will say. You have to find your own space. You have to find your own happiness. You have to make the decision to say, you know what, this is what I'm going to find as my tradition. And you talked about it's getting dark early, right? So I always say stars cannot shine if it was never dark, right? And so go out and see the Christmas lights. So if you're not into the Christmas lights, then maybe start writing some poetry. But what is that space that makes you happy? And so the interesting thing about that is people, we all have a choice, right? We have a choice to either sit in it, suckle in it, or we have the choice to get up and do something about it. And we have to make a decision, which choice do I want, right? If you want to sit there in that, be sad, unhappy, depressed, lonely, and all of those things, that's your choice. But then you also have the choice to say, you know what, I'm going to beat this. I'm going to find my happiness. I'm going to find something that I enjoy doing, and we're going to do it, right? So fast forward, again, all of my grandparents are gone, right? The majority of my aunts are gone that we would do those traditions with. So a lot of family members have passed. So what my family we're doing now is, again, we still get up on Christmas morning and we still exchange gifts and have a good time. But then what we do, my cousin, who we would always go visit her, she's now taking up the mantra and say, you know what, we're going to do Christmas dinner in my house, right? So we now all pile up at my cousin's house, and now all the first cousins, we're now building that Christmas tradition for the next generation. So what happens is we could have had an opportunity, and I call it opportunity because whatever your opportunity is what you want to do. We could have all sat around and said, wow, everybody's gone, it's getting dark early, we just gonna sit in our house. We could have had that opportunity to do that, but we made a decision to say, no, what we're going to do is we're going to find something that we can all come together as a family. And when we get together, you know what we do? We start talking about the traditions that we were doing as kids. And sometimes some tears will fall. But what is interesting about that is the younger generation, they're now sitting there and they're listening to us like, y'all used to do that? Like, yeah, we would do that. And so now what we're doing is we're now sitting around as the older generation, and we're now telling the younger generations stories. So now when they get older, they will say, remember when we would go to such and such house. So we have the power within us to create our own traditions, but we got to be willing to do it. And that's why I stand on motivation, because the thing is, you got to push yourself. You have to make a decision to do it. I don't believe in excuses. I don't believe in what those things called pity parties. I don't believe in any of those things. I believe that every day you wake up, you have a new opportunity to do something different, to create your own tradition. So for us, as I said, we're now creating our own tradition. So I would tell the listening audience to do is take a moment after this show, take a moment, get on the couch, get your pad and a pen or whatever you want to do. Take a couple deep breaths and write down what your desires are, and make sure they're realistic. Do not write down, oh, I want to see mama again. You're not going to see mama on this side. Okay. Don't write that down. Write down traditions that you want to do that's going to bring you joy. You may want to say, you know what? I want to honor my grandmother. I'm going to honor my grandmother. For example, my grandmother was one of the person in the community in Washington, D.C. Everybody knows Miss Jenkins, okay? I met somebody at work one day years ago, and she was like, I used to hang out at your grandmama's house. I'm like, wow, okay? So everybody knew my grandmother, Miss Jenkins. And so for Thanksgiving, this past Thanksgiving, my grandmother was the person for Thanksgiving. Everybody's at Miss Jenkins' house. So what we did this year for the first time, we brought all of our family together for Thanksgiving. And there were even people who weren't even related to us. We all showed up for Thanksgiving together. We may not see my grandmother on this side, but guess what? We honored her memory. We created a tradition. And so what I would encourage you to do is sit down and think about your family members that have passed away. What were some things that they did? Who were they? And then now let's create those opportunities for new traditions. What you're doing, you're creating memories about them, but then you're creating a tradition that can live on. And last, not least, but most important, If you cannot find yourself pulling yourself out of that slump, please go seek a counselor, seek a therapist. I tell people you can have Jesus and a therapist. They work very well together. Because if you're not able to have the strength to do that, let's move forward. And Miss Marsha, I saw that. So sorry to hear that about your mom passed on Christmas. And I would encourage you to honor your mom. What was something that she did on Christmas Day? Did she bake cookies? So maybe you want to bake cookies and maybe give out cookies to a homeless shelter and honor your mom, or create a nonprofit in your mom's name called Christmas Mom or something, and do something to honor your mom. Do not sit in misery. Do not sit in sadness, because every day you wake up is a new day for new opportunities to do something to create that tradition. So that's what I would say.
And that's outstanding. And I love what you all did in memory of your grandmother. And certainly Miss Marshall's comment stood out to me as well, that my mother passed on Christmas Day. Memories have been my joy currency. It
Mhm.
is so, so very important that we remember those memories. I love the insight or the recommendations that Jason has given in creating something in her memory. One of the things I recall when my father passed away years ago, our youth pastor at the time, I was so hurt because I was a daddy's girl, and Elder Daryl Williams at that time, he said, Tameka, I can't bring your father back. He said, you won't see him again on this side. He said, but always do those things that will make him smile. Try to do things in life as you're accomplishing goals, as you're reaching for goals that would make him happy. And so I think that's a dynamic way to help during that time of sadness, or to help us when it comes to loved ones who pass away, whether it is at Christmas time or whatever time it is to do things in their memory. What, what kind of legacy have they left? How can we expound upon that? And how can we even enhance that the more? So thank you so much, Jason, for that. And thank you, Sister Marsha, for sharing that with us. What a wonderful, wonderful testimony. And just setting realistic expectations. We know, that our loved ones are gone. So we don't necessarily, what we're not saying is just forget about them, or we're not saying is that your feelings don't exist. They exist. They're real. We're human beings. So when our loved ones die, we cry, we miss them. And what I often tell people is there's no time limit when it comes to grief. There's not a set time when a person should ever say to you, hey, it's been 5 years, you shouldn't be crying anymore. It's been, 10 years and you shouldn't be dwelling on that person. There is a certain level of dwelling that we don't want you to do. We don't want you to fall into depression or not to be able to get out of bed. But we do expect you sometimes to shed a tear when you see something that reminds you of that individual, when you smell something that maybe reminds you of them. We expect you to think about them. We don't want you to think that we're saying you just get over it. Certainly our loved ones are people who did special things, and we want to always remember them. I would say also, when we're dealing with that grief during the holiday season, when we're missing our loved ones, to surround ourselves with people who are positive, people that we love, people who can help to, help us to get through it. Whether it is that listening ear, I find that, when you're dealing with the loss of a loved one or friend or whomever, it's great when you can just talk it out. Sometimes you just want to talk about your grandmother, Jason. Just you want somebody to talk about how
Right.
good of a cook she was. I'm so sure those who are in the comments who have lost loved ones, you just want to be able to talk about that cousin that you've lost, your mom, or your father, or whoever. You want to talk about who they were, how their character was, the things they liked to do, the funny things they said. Sometimes just being able to surround yourself with people who can be patient with you during those times, just try to push you to do something when you're saying, look, I don't really feel like doing anything today. You want to surround yourself with individuals who understand. But ultimately, I would say, don't cancel Christmas. Don't
Right.
cancel Thanksgiving. Don't cancel the New Year's tradition that you had with your loved one because they're no longer here. And don't fall into that slump. But like we've said before, begin to develop new traditions, do what makes you happy. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the normal Christian traditions where we eat a certain meal or do something. I love the fact now that people are like, hey, we're not going to do turkey, ham, potato salad, macaroni, cheese on
Right.
Thanksgiving. We're going to do a crab leg feast, or we're
Right.
going to try some fish. So don't be afraid to get out of the comfort zone. Maybe it is that you all typically go to auntie's house at Christmas. Well, maybe get the family together in the beginning of the year or 6 months before Christmas and say, hey guys, let's go to the beach, or let's go on a cruise at Christmas time, or let's go here or there or everywhere. Coming up with new traditions could be a great way also to help you during that empty chair time or during those holiday blues, coming up with something different.
I love what you said about do not cancel Christmas, right? That is so, and that, I think I'm gonna have to get a T-shirt with that on it and put do not cancel Christmas and with your name. I think it's so important that you said that is do not cancel Christmas, and if I can add on to that, do not cancel any day that you're alive, right? And so we may find ourselves in grief all the time, and it is so important to understand that you can grieve for a long time. Like my other grandparents, who lived in South Carolina where I grew up, the song of "On Our Way to Grandmother's House We Go." So they lived down a long country. You're not from the country. They lived down a long country dirt road in an old board house, right? My whole life that I knew them, and so I remember just going to their house, and my granddad sitting on a chair, fussing most of the time, and my grandmother's laughing at him. And so I think it would be a dishonor to their legacy if I were to cancel Christmas, right? Of course, we're still going to grieve. I had an uncle that would send us Christmas presents every single year. And Tameka, one thing that I have started doing, and this is my 8th year of doing it. If anybody want to support, please let me know. I do 2 things for Christmas. Number 1, I do a sock drive. So I do a sock drive where I just collect socks, and then I just donate them to people who are in need of socks, right? And here's why. I never told anyone this. My grandmother on my mom's side was a diabetic. And so as diabetics, it's important you take care of your feet. And so I do the sock drive in honor for her to say, hey, make sure and take care of your feet and keep your feet warm, right? And so every year I do a sock drive. And last year we did it kind of big. We did a family Christmas party, and everybody, instead of bringing food, you donated socks. And so then the other thing that I do is that my grandmother's sister, my grandparents took care of my grandmother's sister who had dementia. And so instead of her moving into a residential facility, they took care of her whole entire life. And so what I do is every year, this is the 8th year, and I also sponsor adult group homes with clients with dementia and Alzheimer's, right? And the reason I do that is because in honor of both of my grandparents who cared for the elderly, who instead of displacing them, they actually cared for them. So every year I take 3 group homes, and they just send me everything that their residents need, work with the community, and then we go and sponsor them. So we do the sock drive, and then we also do the gift drive. And so at our 10th year anniversary, we're going to do a big shindig. But again, those are traditions that we've created in my family to keep the legacy going. One of my aunts made great red velvet cake. Nobody knew how to make the red velvet cake or cupcakes, but she gave the recipe to her son-in-law. So he is cooking and baking the red velvet cakes and cupcakes. And so what happens is it's up to us to make the decision of what we're going to do with their legacy. And I'm a firm believer and I say that going back to what you said is don't cancel Christmas, because when you cancel Christmas, you're canceling their memories. And that's not fair to them, because they did those things for us so we can be where we are now. So by canceling Christmas and canceling holidays and all of those things, we're making a decision to cancel their memory. And that's not fair.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I love that. One of the things that we know is when it comes to socks and things like that in your group homes, in your adult care homes, nursing homes, those are some of the things that are needed the most. They get lost. Sometimes you have your indigent individuals who don't have the additional money because all of their funds are kind of poured into their cost of care. And so they need socks. They need the toiletry items. So wonderful, wonderful initiative that I know is being a blessing to so many people. I love one of the things that Miss Marshall said, she said, I give an award in honor of my mother through my nonprofit to a DV, domestic violence advocate, that represents her advocacy and character. I love that. What a great way to just to be, leave a legacy for your mother and to create a memory in her name. I think that's wonderful. I'm seeing in the comments, Jesus and a therapist. I wholeheartedly agree. How about this? Therapists have therapists. Let's say it again. Therapists have therapists. So understand that there's nothing wrong with being saved and having somebody who can sit down with you and talk through life. Life, as the young folks say, life be lifing. Okay. And so we all go through things. We all go through low moments in life. And so it's great when you have somebody that you can talk to. Janet says, yes, new traditions. These are the comments we're getting. Edith says, yes, you're right. Frida Darden, so true. Yeah, we're seeing you all in the comments here. Dakiba Rogers, Evangelist Rogers, holiday blues. I saw it in people throughout this season. Absolutely. Melinda Stevens, good to see you. Good evening. Dakiba lets Sister Marsha know she's praying for you during this time of year. May the Holy Spirit comfort you. Thank you all for coming, and keep them coming. Keep them coming. We are so glad that you all are on. Once again, those who are just joining, you're here on Candid Conversations with Lady T and JT. We're your guest hosts today. I am Tameka Douglas, and with me today is my co-host, Jason T. Mahoney. Allow yourself to feel what you feel. Don't just neglect your feelings during this time. Allow yourself to feel what you feel. Let somebody know how you're feeling. I think the worst thing that we can do is to carry it ourselves. First of all, pray about it. Go before the Lord about it and praying about your feelings. Also talking to people who are trusted, who can understand where you are. Let them know how you're feeling. Listen, Mom, I'm not feeling Christmas this year. I'm not feeling the holidays this year. Talk to somebody about those things. Also, taking good care of yourself, making sure you care for yourself, not allowing yourself to get into a pattern or a consistent level of sadness or grief. And like I mentioned earlier, grief, although it doesn't have a time stamp on it per se, it is a certain level of grief that can become problematic when you find yourself being unable to leave out of the house, being unable to take care of your personal hygiene, being able to get out and go to work and be amongst others. When that exists for a long period of time, then we do have something clinical going on that you certainly want to get the help that you need. Again, we're talking today about managing that holiday stress. Jason, let's talk a little bit about other ways we manage it. One thing we know is that Christmas, although the main emphasis can't be on buying your kids 100 gifts and spending all your money to put something under the tree, that's a big part of it. We all have had that. We're blessed to get gifts now. But I think that one of the ways that we can also manage our stress during the holiday season is knowing that we don't have to get out here and just be impulsive with making all of these purchases. If you know you don't have the money in your budget, if you know it's not there, then perhaps you can make something. Perhaps you can, tell somebody, listen, I can't afford to necessarily get you a gift, but let me babysit your child for you, and you go out on a date with your husband or something like that. There's other ways that we can, during this holiday season, whether it is giving of ourselves, donating our time to somebody, there's other ways that we can give gifts other than going out here getting in debt. I think that's something that we have to consider, because a lot of times that's a big stressor. It's people trying to figure it out, how they're going to get everybody a gift. Guess what? If you got a big family, you may not be able to get everybody a gift. So you may have to say, listen, y'all, let's come together and let's pick names. We're going to pick names. If I pick Jenny's name, then I'm going to get Jenny a gift. If there's nothing left after I pay my bills, then Jenny's going to get her gift. And we're going to be done with the gifts. And whoever got your name is going to get your gift. So you may have to create some unique ways if you know that it's not in your budget to go out here and buy all of these gifts, because ultimately we know the reason is for the season. And it's not about us accumulating a bunch of things, and certainly not about us creating a bunch of debt.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was going to even twist that to talk about sometimes in that holiday blues, grief and loss, and then we go on this compulsive type stuff to make us feel good. So very important for that twist there that you added. And I think it's so important if I can just go back to my parents, I am so grateful, and they may be on, I'm not sure, but I am so grateful that my parents taught us at an early age the true meaning of Christmas at an early age, and that has stuck with me for so many years. And so if I can let any parent on here know, teach your children the true meaning of Christmas, because when you teach your children the true meaning of Christmas, you don't, if you go through a hard season and you're not able to afford to buy them something, they understand the true meaning of Christmas. I remember as a child, my dad had surgery one year, and so we didn't afford Christmas that year. My mom brought us into the living room and she explained to us, hey, Christmas is going to be a little different this year. And so, but we understood it, we had an expectation. But because my parents understood the purpose of Christmas and all of that stuff, that next Christmas was so amazing because my uncle stepped in. And my uncle, like, that was an amazing. That was the first year we got a TV in our bedroom, okay? And this is like, and kids, this is unheard of, right? Y'all growing up with TVs in your room. We didn't have that, right? But I say it's so important, number one, to teach your children and teach your family members the true meaning of Christmas, because then we can get away from the commercialization of what has happened to Christmas, okay? So that's number one. So number one, identify and share the true meaning of Christmas. All right, period. That's it. All right, if you'll never get a gift for the rest of your life on Christmas, understand we got the best gift in the world, and that's the gift that keep on giving. Okay, so teach your children and family the true meaning of Christmas. Number one. Number two is understand that you got to live in 2025, right? You got to live the next year, okay? Do not max out your credit cards, because now that's going to mess up your credit score. So then when you enter in 2025, you may have some financial problems. So be mindful about your spending. If you do not have it, don't spend it, okay? And I love what Tameka said about tap into your arts and crafts. You know, I think the best gift that you can give somebody is something, a handwritten note. Right? That is something that 100 years from now, it can show up in a museum that you wrote a handwritten note on this 2024. If you do a postcard on right now, a postcard 100 years from now, that is an antique, and your postcard can show up in somebody's museum. Okay. So those are things that you can create those traditions for free. If you don't have it, don't spend it. Okay. Be budget conscious when you're out shopping. So number one, understand the true meaning of Christmas and share it. Number two, if you don't have it, don't spend it. Okay. And then also going back to what Tameka said is the idea of drawing names. Always think drawing names was a lot of fun, right? Because you never know who's going to get your name, how creative it's going to be. And then another thing is have a Christmas social and ask everyone to just bring a gift. And then just have a good time, and that's creating your memories there. And it doesn't cost a lot of money. Ask people to bring a dish, do a Christmas ornament decorating thing. You can go to the Dollar Tree, get the Christmas ornaments and create them, and then the kids can be involved with that, and then the kids can leave with that Christmas gift that they can give to their parents or what have you. It does not cost a lot of money to be happy during the holiday season. What has happened is we have commercialized Christmas and tying it to the fact that the more gifts I get, the more expensive my gifts are, and all those kind of things. It made us kind of like, wow, we've achieved XYZ. And I know for me, is that my mom, my parents, my mom and dad, they have this thing called for the Christmas time, and they've always said this. I never understood what it means now until in my adulthood. They will always say is that we give love gifts. And what that means is it never mattered the cost of the gift, the size of the gift, is that it is given to you from love. It is given to you from a place of, I love this. I thought you would have liked it. I never forget one of my uncles, my uncle and aunt, one year, they brought me this red race car, right? And so I've always loved that. And it was the tiniest little car I ever seen in my life, right? But it was like so cool. And I know for a fact they probably got it from the Dollar Tree or the 5 and 10 cent store in 1985, because that's what year it was, right? But it was such a small little car, but it meant the world to me because guess what? It was a love gift. My aunt and uncle, they gave it to me from the goodness of their heart. And it was not about a big old car. And I really feel bad for people that have a mentality of the bigger the gifts, the more expensive the gift is, that gives them their happiness. Because there may come a time where they can't get those things anymore, and then they're going to crack and fall, right? So when people give me a gift, I'm really grateful for it. But for me, the gifts I like are the gift of time. Let's spend time together. Let's just go. Let's walk at the park. Let me or you be that connector, that person that say, hey, I'm in 2025. The gift, Tameka, in 2025, the gift I'm gonna give to you is being an accountability partner. So that means that when you're not doing what you're supposed to do on your goals, I'm gonna call you and say, hey, what's going on? Why have you not done this yet? Yeah. Right? That is a gift that is going to keep on giving, right? You can't put a price tag on the gift of time. You can't put this another one. You're going to be my prayer partner. When I'm going through, pray for me. I just text you and say, pray. You see what I'm saying? And what happens is these are gifts that you just can't control. Or at work one day, somebody says, I don't have lunch money. You know what? I got a jar over here that I done saved $1 every week. So that if somebody needs that, here you go. So I think what happens is we focus on that one day and we don't realize that we have to live after that day. So I always tell people, give people gifts that's going to create an emotional memory, a mental memory, and something that's going to be life-changing, right? You cannot put a value on that gift. As soon as a car goes off the car lot, it is lost its worth. You can buy somebody a whatever expensive gift. It's going to lose its value. And then I always say with kids, they're going to play with those toys for maybe 2 hours. After that, they'll know the toy went up or down, right? But give that child quality time. Give that child a word in their ear. Give that child something that's going to encourage them and motivate them. But those techniques can only work if you truly understand the meaning of Christmas. People that buy into the commercialization of Christmas can never understand what it means to get a love gift. So when my parents give me a love gift, I'm just as happy as I want to be because I know where it comes from, because I know the true meaning of Christmas. So the foundation is teach people the true meaning of Christmas. So therefore, we're not focusing on gifts. And going back to what you said, if you don't have the money, don't go out and spend it. Don't put yourself in debt. Why not do that? And you have to live in 2025. Let's not do that in this season in your life.
Jason, I couldn't agree more. And especially when you talked about the children and how your parents taught you the true meaning of Christmas. And I'm very thankful that we learned that also as a young girl. And also that it's the thought that counts, right? Mm-hmm. That somebody may have taken their last, somebody may have taken something taken from their need, mm-hmm. And purchased you that gift. And so don't look at it as though it's minute or it's just not important to you. Be thankful that somebody thought enough of you to give you something. And I think with children, one of the things that would be great with having young children, especially, and even our older children, is to take them to do something for somebody else. Teach them how to give to somebody else. Take them and let them feed the homeless. Take them to the nursing home and let them sing Christmas carols. One of the things I loved doing with the young girls when I worked with the young girls at church, I would take them to the Helping Hand Mission to sing songs, or take them to the nursing homes, and we would take goodie bags. We have a children's hospital not far from where I work at. We went there and sung songs for those children that deal with all kinds of illnesses and disabilities. And I was able to take our girls. And so they saw things that they didn't really even know existed, and children that were not able to walk, children, some couldn't talk and some were blind. And so they were able to go there during Christmas time, sing Christmas carols, and we were able to take gifts to those children. I think it is so important for us to train our children to be of service to others. Yes, you are going to get something, but you need to learn to give of yourself. You need to learn to be able to take your allowance and purchase a gift for somebody that's in need. So it's so important that you teach them what the reason for the season, and also to be of service to somebody else is so important. And like you mentioned, not getting in debt, trying to buy everybody something, trying to overspend. One thing I learned about children, and even having a child of my own, is that these kids, they'll have a long Christmas list, and then there's one or two items that they really, really want that you'll see them playing with after Christmas. And the majority of those other things that you've gone out and spent money on, that's not important to them. They have that one or two things that they like, and that's really near and dear to them. So find out what that thing is, and don't go out here trying to buy everything on the list, but that thing that they really, really want, because these kids, they'll find that one thing that they like and play with it, and the 20 other gifts are just sitting around. And what they used, in years past, take those toys that still are in good shape, gently used toys, and be a blessing to a shelter. We have out here women and children shelters that are in need of those items. So grab up those kids, say, hey, we're going to pack these toys in a box. We're going to pack these clothes in a box, this gently used stuff, and we're going to bless somebody else during Christmas. We're going to be able to give to them. So teaching them things like that. So you said so many great things, Jason. And again, those of you who are in the comments, absolutely. Janet says it's the thought that counts. Kezra says, right. Janet says, this is wonderful. Yes, new traditions. As we mentioned earlier on in the show, come up with those new traditions. It may not be the same thing that you did 20 years, coming up with something new, ice skating perhaps, or going to the mountains, doing something differently, trying a new recipe. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but coming up with some new traditions and doing those things to help you get through this time and this season. We see you out there. And again, we want to say Merry Christmas to everyone. We don't want you during this time. We don't want it to be a time of sadness for you, but let it be a time of joy. And what brings joy to you may not bring joy to somebody else, but we can help somebody have a joyous occasion. We can help somebody that's in need. Oftentimes there are people who are in facilities who don't have anyone. You be that person to go visit them during the holiday season. You be that person that calls that nursing home or that assisted living facility and say, hey, do you have an individual that doesn't necessarily have a support system that I can maybe get a wish list from, and bring John Doe gifts, or bring Mary Doe something during Christmas time. Those things will bring joy to you, being able to give of yourself and help somebody else. When you think about, like we talked about earlier on in the show, that empty chair, that person that is no longer with you during this holiday season, what are those memories that you had during that time that they were with you? What were those things that you can go back and recall on during that time that they were there? Because I guarantee you that auntie, that mother, that husband, that friend, that grandmother wouldn't want you at Christmas time or even any other day to sit down in sadness and then and grieve and become depressed during a time where you should be happy. They would want you to be happy. They would want you to be active and doing things that bring joy. So during this holiday season, we just want to encourage you not to allow the holiday blues to consume you. We want to encourage you not to get out there and just make purchases that you know that when you look at your account the week after Christmas, is going to have you crying or regretting doing it. Be mindful of the purchases. Be mindful about the spending and what you're doing during this time of year.
Right.
Anything else as we get to our last few fleeting moments of the show, Jason? Any thoughts?
So I was reflecting, and I'm so honored that you reached out to me and asked me to, because I'm enjoying this, and because again, you and I both have a heart of servitude, and so I was reflecting on when I was in first grade, and we had to learn all the stanzas of Joy to the World, right? So of course, we singing those kind of songs in school. People can't do that anymore in the schoolhouse, but we're singing Joy to the World, right? And so I was just sitting here thinking how amazing it would be if everybody that could go out and bring joy to some people who have lost their joy. Can you imagine if just 100 people, let's say there's a nursing home with 100 rooms, and 100 people show up to that nursing home, and each person in the facility gets a moment with that individual, and we bring a gift like socks or whatever, right? And we leave there, and then we go to the prison, or we go to the homeless. And so I just think it'll be so amazing if during this holiday spirit season we really tap into that song "Joy to the World," right? How can we bring joy to the world, right? And so because we have joy and we know who brought us joy, how great would it be if we were to all, and everybody who's on here listening, if you were to just leave out of your home tomorrow, next week, or whenever, go to the store and just pick up some simple items. Or matter of fact, this is where I stand though. I like, for example, I like certain outfits, I like certain clothes, I like certain labels, right? And if I like it, guess what? Somebody else like it too, right? So imagine if we were to go to a facility or a homeless shelter or what have you, and we just go and bring joy to these individuals. Can you imagine the impact we would have on the world if we just have a day of servitude in the month of December? So if we were to cancel Christmas, that I would say, what would it look like if we were to cancel the commercialization of Christmas and actually go out and do joy work, where you're actually out there in the shelters or what have you, bringing joy to people? So I would challenge everybody that's listening to me tomorrow or tonight, go out to a store, just go shopping. Don't have to spend a lot of money. Go shopping and find a family, a facility, or whatever, and just say, hey, I just want to bring you some joy. And just do whatever you need to do to bring that person joy. Can you imagine how the world would be so different if everybody brought joy to somebody else, regardless of their income, background, socioeconomic, regardless of who they are and choices that they made? We just show up as soldiers of joy. So we want to cancel Christmas, the commercialization of Christmas. We're going to do that by bringing joy to other people. And I think at that moment is we can really change the whole entire world just by giving of ourselves. I mean, can you imagine going to the children's hospital and reading Christmas stories to the children there? And not just reading a book. I mean, like, you know me, very theatrical, right? Go there and actually read these Christmas stories to the kids with the theatrics and everything. And it's not a cost to them. We just want to bring joy. So so for me, I would end by challenging everybody to bring some, hey, Jinx, that's my girl. Hey, to just bring joy. So I would challenge people this holiday season, just go out and do some joy work.
I love that. I love what you said about just going out and doing some joy work. And it doesn't take much time. It doesn't take much effort to do it. Call ahead. Sometimes you just say, hey, listen, I'm from the community. I just want to come by and visit. I want to come by and visit those who may not usually get visitors. And just as a closing thought, this is a quote, and it's very similar, Jason, to what you said. And it's by Hamilton Wright Mabel, and it says, blessed is the season which engages the whole world in a conspiracy of love. And I would say, blessed is the person that engages the whole world in a conspiracy of love. And one of the things that we know is that when we're out there doing this stuff, it encourages other people to get out there and do so. You may be that person that encourages somebody else to say, hey, you know what? I'm a great cook and I don't have to charge every time I cook something. I don't have to charge every time I open a can of corn, or every time I drop something in the deep fryer. I can give it to somebody. I can be a blessing to somebody that otherwise wouldn't get a good cooked meal, would get something hot and fresh. So just when people see that, they begin to say, hey, you know what? I saw that this person did it. Well, let me go out here and let me help somebody else. Let me visit somebody that needs visitors. So we want to encourage you during this holiday season, take the gift that is that is within you and give that gift to others. Be a blessing to someone else. Take those kids out and let them be a part of serving. Don't allow yourself to become to get in a pity party and think, woe is me, who isn't here any longer, what you don't have. But let this season be a time of love, of giving, of supporting other people. And I guarantee you, once you do that, that load gets a little lighter, that grief begins to lift, because you're able to help somebody else. You're putting a smile on someone else's face. So we want to wish every one of you a Merry Christmas and certainly a Happy New Year. And again, thank you for being here today with us on Candid Conversations. And I know that each and every one of you are going to take these things and you're going to move forward on it. You're going to begin to pour into others, pour that love that is inside of you. It's not always monetary. The gift of time is valuable to someone else. Donating of yourself to someone else, someone that's in need. And I guarantee you, during this holiday season, it will help you. It'll help you feel better. It makes your world feel a lot lighter when you are able to help someone else. Again, Jason, any closing thoughts? We want to thank you for being with us. We know that you're a busy person, and it's always good to have you on Oak 93.5 WRLY. It's always good to have you on the show. Thank you for being with us on today. Certainly want to shout out JT and Lady T and thank them for allowing us and for entrusting us to be in there, to be here today in their stead, and to be a part of this great show, Candid Conversations. Thank you for entrusting us. And we see you all out there in the comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're wishing you a joyful time this holiday season. Goodbye. Have a wonderful evening.